So, today on the Silly Vicar Show, we're talking about Noah's Ark and Donald Trump.
I'm gonna build a wall. I'm gonna build a big and powerful wall. And guess who's gonna pay for it? Mexico. Let's get rid of Muslims as well. Donald Trump. Vote me. Don't actually. I'm a maniac.
So hello and welcome to the Silly Vicar Show, and today we're talking about Noah's Ark. Now, when we're thinking about the Bible, we need to think about what the Bible really says, not what we think it says or we want it to say. And the first thing we need to do when we're thinking about the Bible is consider what type of book it is. Now, the Bible is lots and lots and lots and lots of little books or big books all put together. And they are different types of book. So let's have a look. I've got different types of books here. I've got a hymn book. There's lots of hymns in the Bible. I've got a history book. There's not a lot of history in the Bible, but there's bits and bobs. I've got a political satire, which is Gulliver's Travels. I've got a theology book, which is the Theology of Hope. I've got myths and legends, which is the Mabinogion. And I've got a book about sex, because it is actually one book which is all about sex, which is quite racy really, to be fair. Quite like that book. It's called The Song of Songs. So when we're thinking about the Bible, we need to think about what type of literature we're reading. So, Noah's Ark. What type of literature is that? Well, if we think for a moment about Chinese New Year. Now it is almost Chinese New Year around this sort of time. What is the story of Chinese New Year? Well, it's a story of a race of all sorts of different animals, and at the end of the race the rat wins, and the rat wins the race because what it does, it jumps on the back of the ox. I'll put the link in the description. It jumps on the back of an ox and it kicks the cat off the back of the ox, and the cat goes in the water, and that's why there's no year of the cat. But the story ends with the line, "That's why rats and cats don't get on."
It's a tale like the Babylonian god.
That's right. So that type of literature, it's called a tell. Is at the end of a story you have something called a tell, which says to us all that that is a symbolic or figurative story. Nobody in China thinks that that actually historically happened. Nobody does. Because at the end of the story there's a tell, and the reason these tells were invented is before writing there had to be a way of us remembering different stories. So what they would do is they'd use cues in the environment in order to remind themselves of the story. So at the end of the Chinese New Year story they say, "That's why rats and cats don't get on, because the rat kicked the cat off the ox." Now then, the story of Noah's Ark, we know that's a figurative story for lots of different reasons. One, because Noah was 600 years old or something when he came along, but also as well because at the end of the story it says, God says, "I have put my bow in the clouds to show that I will always love you." And before, in the story, it says before Noah's Ark there was no rain, so there's no rainbows. So the tell is the rainbow. So what do we say to that?
It's something.
We'll have to cut that bit. So it's saying it's a tell. So the other reason that it's there is what we need to do to understand Noah's Ark properly is go back in time to try and understand the context in which it's written. Now, there's lots and lots of stories about floods from all over the Middle East, and the Sumerian myths about the flood, which is called Gilgamesh, they were describing the Sumerian gods. Now, I was trying to explain to Andrew what the Sumerian gods were like, and I said they're a bit random. They just pick on people and they shout a lot and they just randomly cause lots of destruction for no reason. And then Andrew came up with a good impression of who would be the modern Sumerian god, and he came up with
That's me! I'm evil. I hate Muslims. They're evil. They're terrorists.
And what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, Donald? What are you gonna do?
Pretty obvious. Build a wall!
That's it.
Big and powerful wall. Make America great again!
That's it, yeah. So basically, the Sumerian gods were a lot like Donald Trump. They basically did random stuff and just brought death and chaos on everything. And the reason that Noah's Ark exists in Scripture is it's adapting that Sumerian myth and turning it into something else. It's saying that the Hebrew gods are not like the Sumerian gods. So why does that matter? Who cares? Why does it matter to us today? That's the big question. Why should we care about that today? Well, the first reason is this really, is that when people say that Noah's Ark couldn't have happened, therefore the Bible's a load of rubbish, and anyone who believes in it is stupid, that's not really a challenge to our intellect. It's not a challenge to our ability to reason. It's a challenge to our compassion. Because really, if you take that view, then you're just kind of a bit ignorant about what the Bible is. You just kind of don't know. And if you don't know about something, maybe we shouldn't talk about it too much, or we should learn. And the major problem we have perhaps today is in trying to fight Donald Trump, we might end up just kind of like him, kicking off about things we don't really understand. So next week what we're going to do is we're going to think about what Noah's Ark means to us today, how we can use this figurative story in a positive way, and what it actually really means. And let's all try and be a bit less ignorant and a bit more compassionate towards each other and a bit less like Donald Trump.
I don't think you Americans notice, but the English probably do. I don't know. There's somebody over here. I'm telling you now. When I am in my aeroplane that says Trump, everybody in England does what it says. Trump.
Thank you for that.
need to Trump and build the wall. Mexicans are going to pay for it. Build a big and powerful wall.
So thank you for that, Donald.
I'm also orange. I'm full of and I have a wig on as well.
Thank you for that, Donald, and we'll see you next week.